Homegrown alligator, see you later. Gotta hit the road, gotta hit the road. The sun ain't changed in the atmosphere, architecture unfamiliar. I could get used to this. Time flies by in the yellow and green. Stick around and you'll see what I mean. There's a mountain top that I'm dreaming of. If you need me, you know where I'll be. I'll be riding shotgun underneath the hot sun, feeling like a someone. I'll be riding shotgun underneath the hot sun, feeling like a someone. South of the equator, navigator, gotta hit the road, gotta hit the road. Deep sea diving round the clock, bikini bottoms, lager tops. I could get used to this. Time flies by in the yellow and green. Stick around and you'll see what I mean. There's a mountain top that I'm dreaming of. If you need me, you know where I'll be. I'll be riding shotgun underneath the hot sun, feeling like a someone. I'll be riding shotgun underneath the hot sun, feeling like a someone. We got two in the front, two in the back, sailing along and we don't look back. Time flies by in the yellow and green. Stick around and you'll see what I mean. There's a mountain top that I'm dreaming of. If you need me, you know where I'll be. I'll be riding shotgun underneath the hot sun, feeling like a someone. I'll be riding shotgun underneath the hot sun, feeling like a someone. I'll be riding shotgun underneath the hot sun, feeling like a someone. I'll be riding shotgun underneath the hot sun, feeling like a someone, a someone, a someone.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone from around the world. It is so great to be here with all of you today. My name is Mutuma. I am 17 years old and I'm from Kenya.
My name is Zareen. I'm 18 years old. I am from Bangladesh, and we are the core representatives of the Student Council.
Welcome to the new cohort of UWC Dilijan students. We are so excited to meet all of you in September. We're so excited to be here with you all today. Zareen, do you remember how it first felt to be accepted into UWC Dilijan and to see the letter from Tatevik and everything?
Honestly, it seems like it was only yesterday, and I genuinely can't believe that a year has passed by. I was so excited when I was accepted, even though we had no idea what was going to happen, and the pandemic was raging and everything was up in the air.
Definitely, definitely. But we can definitely say that it worked out for our generation, for the two of us and for our 105 classmates. And so we definitely want to show a great warm welcome to everyone that will be joining us in August/September.
I want to start off by speaking a little bit of our home here, UWC Dilijan. So UWC Dilijan is a community of students, teachers, alumni, families, wider UWC, and supporters and volunteers. Today, we invited representatives of the stakeholder group, and let us start with introducing the person who, together with her husband, Ruben Vardanian, made her dream of building a school in Dilijan a reality. Veronica Zonaben is a co-founder and the board chair of UWC Dilijan. Ruben and Veronica put almost $200 million of their personal funds into the school. Those who haven't visited UWC Dilijan will be amazed to see our magnificent campus, a real oasis.
Yeah, thank you, Zareen. First of all, congratulations to your enrollment to UWC Dilijan. And welcome to our UWC Dilijan family. I'm sure you will love to be here, and you will love to arrive first time and to come back. My husband, Ruben Vardanian, and I believe that education is the best equalizer. And since we were thinking about that, what do we leave about our heritage? What do we leave for the next generations? So education and creating opportunities for their new generation is one of the best what you can leave after you. That is why in 2006, we started dreaming of developing an international school in Armenia. And at that time, it seemed a miracle because the country that majority of the world doesn't know about existence. And also it's about the country that traditionally is not the destination for international high quality education. So there were a lot of skepticism around, and now it became true. And school became a beacon and of international high quality education in the region. And the international school is the place where people learn from each other about their own very different culture and about diversity of the world. And also what is unique for UWC in general and UWC Dilijan as well, that young people, not only from diverse cultures, but also socially diverse, are living and study together. And this knowledge and connections become very important and help to develop themselves and also develop friends and connections all around the world. And thus in 2014, we together with a group of like-minded people established UWC Dilijan, the first international boarding school in Armenia. And our idea was to develop it in the place and build it in the place which is magnificent, and people who have a lot of opportunities and traveled around the world will be amazed with the place and become big fans of it. Dilijan has long traditions of being cultural, being resort, and was the cultural center in the Soviet time, in the 20th century, where cinematographers and composers and writers used to spend their time there and created many famous pieces of art and of music, which are well known around the world. Dilijan also, and as Armenia, is located on the crossroads of four civilizations. Not only it's about Orthodox Christianity, it's about in Russia, it's Middle East, with of various religions. So then, and Armenians were always the people who created connections. Therefore, Armenia by itself is a special place where is possible to learn about each other and learn about various cultures. Armenia is also a hospitable country, and hospitality is part of the culture of local people. And Dilijan welcomes diverse international community. It's like every second teenager in Dilijan now learns foreign language, and they try to speak and a majority of the population speak 3 languages. Now, I mean, young people, of course, not those who are of old age, and because they try to connect with new opportunities for themselves as well, and with international students. And it's it shows the impact that the school has already done in Dilijan, because even 7 years ago, when school started to function, it was not like that. Our vision is for UWC Dilijan to make an impact, and primarily on young people, so that they, like us, can pursue their dreams and reach their potential in creative and supportive environment. So that to give power and belief in everyone that if you want to change something and want to be an architect of your own life, you can do it. And that it depends on your own skills and persistence and the ability to follow your dream. And it is not easy journey. It's a journey full of challenges, full of uncertainties, and then we all have to be resilient for that. And that's what we try to educate and Dilijan young people, to be able to overcome all this. And we believe that education is a big force to enhance and to unite people, and they're in peaceful way, and then hope that we'll see a lot of world leaders who spent their transformative 2 years in Dilijan.
Thank you so much, Veronica. It's really inspiring to see how sort of like the visions and the ideas that you all had when thinking about creating this amazing place have become tangible realities, and how the lives of hundreds of alum have been transformed so positively. Perhaps you could also tell our new students about the ecosystem that you've been able to create here in Dilijan in Armenia, so that our school could be part of a vibrant culture and community of partner organizations.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, that from the very beginning, that would go to tell that it's the UWC Dilijan is not just the school. It's part of a bigger ecosystem that has in its, first of all, that Dilijan community, as I mentioned, and Dilijan Community Center grows, and it now has more than 2,000 young people from local community. And it's also connected with the Dilijan development as the Dilijan urban development to make Dilijan the destination where regional festivals taking place, and also it is the recreation, educate to become recreation, education, and the cultural center. Dilijan is located in middle halfway between two capitals of two neighboring countries, between Armenia, Yerevan, capital of Armenia, and Tbilisi, capital of Georgia. And there also that we always wanted Dilijan, UWC Dilijan, become part of life of the town and of the country, and not to create a bubble, which is very much, which is separated from the life of local people. That's why their projects that students are doing and also local kids are doing, we try to make it possible from both sides. So also UWC Dilijan and our foundation, and my husband is one of the founders of Aurora Humanitarian Initiative. which is an Aurora Humanitarian Prize, which is given annually to people who save lives of others. It's $1 million award. And those people, they come to Armenia regularly and become role models for young people. And that gives them their assurance that if you believe in something, that you can achieve, and also that the humanitarian values are the values that all make us humans, and what that we share between ourselves as people, and regardless of which country we're from, what skin color we have, or other differences. Also, there is an initiative which is called IDEA Foundation, Initiatives for Development of Armenia. And there is one project at Tatev Monastery, and the students have the chance to visit it as an example of sustainable philanthropy, when the project itself generates income that helps to support itself and other projects around. Tatev Monastery is the monastery of the 9th century and used to be in medieval time educational center. And the ropeway was built to make it more accessible. And from 5,000 tourists 10 years ago, it was visited by 100,000 tourists before COVID. So then new students and the newcomers, you're welcome not only to the school, you're welcome to the whole ecosystem.
I think that Dilijan and Armenia, it's so closely integrated with our lives here, and we're all immensely grateful for the opportunity to interact with the local communities and immerse in their culture. Thank you, Veronica, for giving us the opportunity to study here and avail all of the possibilities to grow as human beings in this dynamic environment. Now, I would like to introduce Majella Skansabakin, who is a leader of the Parent Council.
Hi, everybody. I'm Majella. I'm the mother of Surya, who's just finishing his first year in DP1 at UWC Dilijan, and it's been an absolute pleasure being part of UWC Dilijan's community. It's a young school, and given that the parent community, apart from obviously the Armenian families, we're all generally far away. Many of us haven't actually been able to visit the school. You know, our kids got on a one-way flight to Armenia last year, so it's been difficult for the parents to get involved like you normally would with a regular school. One positive this year, though, has been the result of some great work remotely by all of us. So we're all living around the world, and this year a group of parents got together and organised and formed a parent council in order to support the school in every way we can. There was a lot of discussion had about what our role would be because we are so far away, and how we could actually help. You know, who knows when we will be able to visit. So we decided on 5 committees to start out with, and they're 5 working committees. The first committee is the communications. Basically, they are the communications to the newsletter. So any communications that we've got will always go to the newsletter, and we'd like you to look out for anything from us. That'll be at the end of every month, and there'll be a parent council section from us. The second committee is onboarding. We try where possible to help as many of you where we can. You're coming from all over the world. There's parents living all around the world. Me personally, I've had a lot of children come via our house. They've been stuck. So everybody is always a phone call away. So we have set up the parent Facebook page. So if anybody needs to get in contact with us urgently, come on that page. I would suggest that when you're answering and trying to get onto the page, please actually answer the questions, because we're finding it very difficult to work out whether you're a parent or not, because often names are different, surnames are different at least. There's also a parent buddy system, which Elena will speak to you about later, and we are very excited to meet you all. And there's lots of parents with lots of different languages and things, and they're happy to reach out to you if you need any help. There's a UWC and beyond, or UWCD and beyond committee. Basically, they are parents who are helping kids with gap years, internships, things like that. And also at that period of time, we have discussions with Harvey, who's the university counsellor. So there are calls with the parents and Harvey each year, a couple of times a year, we'll probably do that. So any questions you have, that's kind of part of that as well. The fourth committee is the graduation committee, and this year was the first time we had anything to do with it. It was kind of hard for us to feel like we could do too much, so we tried where possible because we were just so far away. But the kids did a great job, and so did all of the staff and teachers in amazing having a graduation. Not many schools had graduations this year, so they did an amazing job. And then the last one is fundraising. So fundraising will be a pretty exciting one, and there's lots of parents really excited to get involved with the fundraising committee. Everyone's got lots of ideas, and so we are happy to receive any ideas from any of you coming into the school. So I'd obviously like to welcome you all on behalf of the Parent Council. I'm inviting you to join us. Obviously, you can help without joining a committee. You don't have to join us, but we always enjoy people coming and joining us, but we also are really happy to have your any thoughts that you might have. The first meeting of the next academic year will be on the 18th of August at 3 o'clock Armenian time. We will send out an invitation. It will always be on the Facebook page as well, and hopefully you can join us.
Thank you so much, Magella. It's really exciting to see how the parents are also taking a very active approach in contributing to our school community. It is now my pleasure to welcome David Sagradian, an alumni council member. David, please start by telling us a little about yourself and anything about your experience related to your time here at UWC Dilijan, and also anything you'd like to tell us about any advice that you'd have for the new students.
Sure. So hi, everyone. I'll quickly introduce myself. My name is David. Most people call me Davo. It's easier. And I'm a graduate of the class of 2020. I'm a diaspora Armenian from the Netherlands, and currently I'm studying medicine at Barcelona London School of Medicine. And today, it's basically about you guys. You are about to start this journey of 2 years. And I completely understand that you're fully focused on those 2 years for now, but there also is a life after UWC, and that is where the Alumni Council comes to play. Basically, what we do is we make sure that the school and the alumni stay connected. So we have different teams. For example, a communications team, which makes sure to share stories about what our alumni have been up to, different projects that they've started, all on our Instagram page. We have a reunions team, which I'm part of. Speaks for itself. We organize reunions all over the world. Hopefully by the time COVID regulations die down, we'll be able to organize those reunions. And we have our alumni opportunities team, which hopefully in the 2 years that you'll be there, we'll be able to connect you with mentors from our alumni community. So basically it means we'll connect you to people who work or have an interest in working in a field in which you have an interest as well. So they can give you advice, answer your questions, and basically help you with your professional development. So Alumni Council is something you don't have to think about for now yet, but do always know we're here for, if you need anything, if you need any advice, don't hesitate to contact the Alumni Council. So aside from that, you asked me if I have any advice, and I do. It's really exciting that you guys are just at the beginning of this journey. I have 2 pieces of advice. You can decide to do something with it. You can completely neglect it as well. It's up to you. First one would be experience UWC and UWC Dilijan in whatever way you want to do it. There's no right or wrong way. It is completely up to you. But make sure to be open for change. I call it be open to get to know yourself again. You're going to be thrown in an environment that is completely different than what you're used to. As Veronica said, it's a journey filled with challenges, which will make you learn things about yourself that you didn't know before, develop new interests, and reevaluate your opinions. And that's the beauty of UWC and UWC Dilijan. So be open for that. And then my second piece of advice, it's a very practical piece of advice. Aside from experiencing UWC, make sure to experience Armenia as well. I think all of our graduates who didn't have a connection with Armenia beforehand, afterwards consider themselves what we call ABC, Armenian by choice, and they consider Armenia their own. So make use of all the trips, go to Tatev, make sure you go on all the trips the school organizes or travel with your friends during long weekends. Make sure, as Veronica mentioned, hospitality is at the core of the Armenian identity. So make sure to experience that. And I think that was it. 2 years seem like a long time, but trust me on this one, it flies by like this. So enjoy every single moment of it. that was it for me. Thank you guys.
Thank you, David. I think it's really relieving for us to know that whenever we need advice, we can always rely on the Alumni Council. Thank you so much. Now it is my pleasure to introduce Elena Etard, one of our co-years from Malta, and she will be talking a little bit about the buddy system we have in place for our first year students.
Hi everybody, as Zareen said, I'm Anna from Malta, and basically DWC Buddies are a group of students which were selected by the admissions department, and we're coming from different regions of the world. We speak different languages, we will be available at different time zones throughout the summer, and basically what this group aims to do is to sort of like be the bridge between the cohort which is coming in and our generation. So we will be here to answer any questions from a student's perspective, and you can send us all of your questions on our email, which I think that Elena from admissions forwarded to you, but just in case you don't know it, it's uwcbuddies@uwcdilijan.am. And we're basically here to answer all of your questions, to make you feel more comfortable, and for you to start putting some faces to the community and to the school, and just know that you will be welcomed when you come here, and that there are lots of students. Apart from the buddies, all of the second years are so eager to welcome you into the school and to make sure that you have a great experience over these 2 years. We will be organizing some question and answer sessions in the coming weeks. We aim to do one really soon, as well as one later on in around August time, just before you start getting ready to come onto campus. And then, as Majella mentioned a bit before, there's also the parents buddy system, which is sort of the same, but it's just like having a parent buddy, maybe from your own region or somebody speaking the same language as you, who can sort of help guide you into sending your child into this amazing new world and into this new school. And apart from that, the buddies will also be a stand-in for the second year, that the second years that some students have just because they have predecessors in the school already. So for example, people from Spain already having second years from Spain, and they just like have somebody to talk to already. So it will be also something for people for who don't have second years to just like feel even more welcome, and to know that they also have somebody from the second year ready to give them advice. And yeah.
Thank you, Elena. So now Zarina and I are going to tell you a bit more about the Student Council and how we work, how we function, and everything that you need to know before you come here. So firstly, just to walk you through the purpose of the Student Council, one of the main purposes that we serve is to act as a full and serve as a full representation of the college and all the students that come here, especially amplifying the voices of silent minorities on campus. So what we love to do is we have all these platforms and systems that we have in place to ensure that all opinions from all 230 students can be heard, can be amplified, and all concerns can be brought forward to the relevant members of the college leadership team.
At the same time, we were also sort of like a bridge or a medium between the student body and all other relevant parties of the school, including the college staff, such as the teachers or other maintenance staff, as well as the college leadership team. The college leadership team includes our head of college, the head of academic life, head of residential life, amongst a few other members.
Definitely. Something else that we sort of function towards doing is addressing the various concerns that are brought forward by the students, both in terms of their academic life and their residential life. And what we do is we propose solutions to them. And in certain situations where we need more advice from the student body, we always love to go back, see their opinions, see their advice, have open spaces and forums for discussion to ensure that every single problem can be attacked to make sure that life here is as comfortable as possible.
As a committee, as a council, not a committee, we do not have any executive decision-making power, but one of our biggest responsibilities is overseeing the implementation of new solutions and proposals. So we take feedback from the students and go back to the college leadership team or other relevant staff members, and we discuss the solutions. So that is one of our biggest functions as well.
In addition to this, we advocate and build upon the ideas and initiatives that are brought forward by the student body. There's a lot of creative ideas and great ideas that will enhance community feeling and comfortability here on campus. And so our role is to make sure that we can take all these ideas from the student body, work on them, develop them further, and bring them forward towards the college leadership team.
At the same time, one of our other purposes or functions is to transfer information and ensure smooth communication between the tunes and the student council meetings, as well as the community council meetings. So I feel like I just mentioned a lot of terms that many of you are probably not aware of. So I'll just very briefly explain what they are. In our school, currently, we have 6 tunes. Tunes are basically our accommodations or the houses, because tune is the Armenian word for housing. So in our school, currently, we have 6 tunes or 6 houses. The student council meetings are basically every week. Currently, every Monday, we have student council meetings where we discuss the various issues that are raised by students, and we take them to what is known as the community council meetings. The community council meeting is a platform where the students interact with some staff member, our head of college, head of academic life, residential life, and representatives from the academic team, residential team, as well as all members of the student council are present in the community council meeting. In that meeting, we basically discuss all of the students' concerns and the recommendations that they have. And yeah, we basically discuss all of that in the community council meetings. So one of our biggest functions, as I mentioned, is to ensure smooth communication between what is being discussed within the tunes, so that that is being properly conveyed to the student council meetings, and so that we are able to take those recommendations and concerns to the college leadership team in the community council meeting, so that we are able to affect positive change for the student body.
Definitely. Zareen and I will just walk you through the composition of the student council as well. Currently, there are 8 members of the council. 6 of them are tune representatives. So because we have 6 residential tunes, we have a representative from each. And then there's Zareen and I. We are the core representatives of the student council. And so we are voted in by the entire student body to portray their interests at large.
Yeah. I think Mutuma covered the composition
Yeah.
part pretty well. Regarding the election process, it's something that you really don't need to worry about right now. Of course, if you have any questions regarding the election process, you can always text us in our social media or send us an email. We will clarify. But of course, that's something that you'll gradually get to know once you arrive here. I would also very briefly like to mention about the other councils and committees that we have on campus, apart from the student council. We have the social committee, the sustainability committee, the disciplinary council, the peer listeners, the yearbook committee, and the graduation committee.
There's also the food committee.
Food committee, yeah.
Those are all the committees that you should be aware of right now. But definitely, if you do have any other questions regarding committees and how you can contribute to the community here at school, please definitely feel free to reach out to any of us, and we will connect you to members of those other committees as well. And we'll also be able to answer any questions you have in regards to the student council and student life here on campus.
Yeah, just one more thing. Although being part of a committee or a council is a major way of being able to contribute to the community, this is not the only way. We have so many other opportunities here through student-led initiatives, so you should look out for those as well.
We would like to invite Gabriel to take over from here.
Thank you, Saren and Mutuma. I'm Gabriela Fernandez, the head of UWC Diligent. An honor and a pleasure. I'm very happy to welcome you, our new cohort, our 8th generation of UWC Diligent students and families, our future class of 2023. Our college is a true partnership of students, teachers, alumni, families, the wider UWC community, with supporters and volunteers, and it's built on shared values and trust. And that's what makes UWC schools so powerful. I myself am very fortunate to have my career and personal life very closely connected with the UWC movement. I met Natalie, my wife, at Singapore Changi Airport, where we both landed to join UWC Southeast Asia as new teachers. We quickly moved to the residential community on campus, starting together a UWC themed life. My wife is an Atlantic College alumna. Our children have always lived in a UWC campus. We love being part of the UWC Diligent community and the wider UWC movement. As a UWC school, we rely on the national committees in 160 different countries to help us select the best possible students. And we acknowledge that this has been a especially challenging year for the national committees. And we're very grateful to all of them for the tremendous work in supporting the students and the college. They are the cornerstone of the UWC movement, and our partnership is crucial for administering a robust admissions process. Most national committees are run by volunteers, many of them UWC alumni themselves. I'm personally starting my 4th year in UWC Diligent, and I would like to share with you that I keep remembering Kerr Hand's much quoted dictum: there is more in you than you think. And I think that every time we face a new challenge, we've had to cope with COVID, the war, and quite a few other things. But the good news, I'm delighted to share with you that our community has remained safe and engaged in the UWC learning program throughout all of this. I would also like to take a moment to openly address an ongoing situation with some messages that have been circulated around with some rather defamatory comments. And I would like to assure you that not a single incident, safeguarding or otherwise, reported to the college is not followed up according to a very clear protocols. You can access, for example, a safeguarding policy on our website. Of course, safeguarding situations have to be handled sensitively and carefully for the sake of everyone involved, which means that we cannot freely discuss all details. But please, I do invite you to check out our protocols. There are some wild rumors out there that are simply not true. If you have any questions or concerns, please do reach out to us. We were going to keep a very open channel from now on, all the way through your UWC diligent experience. And I would like to conclude by thanking you for joining our school, our community. I am confident that with the support of your parents, our dedicated board, the UWC family, we, UWC diligent students and staff, will have another outstanding year and will overcome whatever new challenges come our way, onwards and upwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabriel. And now we would like to invite any questions, queries, concerns, anything that you may have. You can type your questions in the chat or in the Q&A box. Thank you.
Shall I take one and respond? Is that okay? Sare Mutuma? So will there be surveillance cameras in common rooms? No, there's no surveillance cameras in common rooms and no plans to put cameras there. We have access control and will be fully implementing it, but there's no common room CCTV system. How many different committees are there in UWCD and how can someone apply for such a committee? Let me turn the question round. It's not only how many there are. If you bring something that is missing, you can create your own. If you come with a passion for something that's missing in the school, it's up to you to bring it up, create something new, add value to our community. I've got a suggestion, a comment. For flights, there's lots of questions about flights. In our experience, it's always better to buy the flight directly with the airline, because if there's any problem, the airline will respond. If you use a second or third party, a website, and so on, you may be saving $50 or $100. They can become the most expensive $50 in your life. Follow the advice from our admissions team. Use a student buddies. They'll give you all the trips, which are the more reliable airlines with connections work. But it's worth making sure that you have flexibility. And right now, most airlines are allowing changes. Many are allowing cancellations without penalties. But please do talk to us if you have any specific questions about how to get to Armenia. The good news, we managed to get everybody into Armenia last year when the country was closed. We managed to get visas, and even when there were only a handful of flights available, we got all students into the campus. This year is going to be easier. Mutuma, Sarin, are you getting questions through Instagram or email?
None so far.
None so far.
Okay, I will address Eugene's question. If a student cannot get vaccinated before coming to Armenia, as soon as the student is in Armenia and turns 18, we will provide opportunities for vaccination. We've already vaccinated about 60 of our current students and graduates. They have to be 18. It's a legal requirement in Armenia, but it's provided, and we will follow up. Sarim Mutuma, you want to address the question about visiting the town on weekends, and are there any restrictions at this stage?
Sure, we can take that question. At this point in time, our campus is currently on lockdown because of safety protocols and procedures because of the pandemic. There are sometimes facilitated events that are done by the sports and outdoor team here at school. And before we had our exams, we were able to go off campus supervised by certain staff members. So at this point in time, we have a bit of restriction in terms of flexibility of coming off campus. But hopefully from next term, once more people are vaccinated and once the situation has changed, we should be able to have more frequent visits off campus. Yes. Are there any other questions that have come forward? Other panelists?
I will pick up a couple of questions about COVID. So Jan, you can travel to Armenia without a vaccine. Then Armenia as of now requires a negative PCR for entry, and then we will do a mandatory quarantine, a 10-day quarantine with a PCR on the 8th or 9th day to make sure that the student is totally COVID-free. So once again, for vaccinations, if you can fully vaccinated, congratulations, you have a longer holiday. You can have 10 more days of summer holidays or winter holidays if you're coming from the Southern Hemisphere. If you don't, not a problem. You come to Armenia on the dates, 21st, 22nd of August, you will do 10-day quarantine, and then once you're clear, you will join our community. And if I can reply to Tina, students who are fully vaccinated can arrive from the 1st to the 3rd of September. That's correct. 1st to the 3rd.
There was a question about how many kitchens there are per house and any food you want to cook here on campus. So there are 2 kitchens in each side of campus. So just a bit of an explanation. We have 2 sides for the residences. There's Mountainside and Riverside. Each side has 3 residential houses or tunes. And so in each side, there's 1 kitchen per side, which has an oven and a sink and a fridge that can be used for, oh, sorry, there are 4 kitchens. There are 4 kitchens in total, 2 on each side of the residences. But you're also available to speak to your tune parents or your residential parents because they also have kitchens in their apartments and they would be more than willing to allow you to cook there and to store some of your food in the fridge as well.
So can I pick up the question that somebody here is so keen to come back or to come that wants to come on the 21st of August, even though the person is vaccinated? If you really want to spend 10 days in quarantine, but honestly, we want people who are vaccinated to come later because we have to make sure that we can support those who have to be in quarantine. So if you're fully vaccinated, we encourage you to come 1st to the 3rd of September. Thank you for your passion, though. Questions about laundry. Can I pass that back to our students and alumni to talk about managing their own laundry?
What's the question?
Laundry. So with laundry, we have laundry rooms on campus. You want to take that one over?
With laundry, basically, as Mutuma mentioned before, we have our residences are sort of divided into the riverside and mountainside with 3 residential tunes on each side. So the riverside has 1 laundry room and the mountainside has 1 laundry room as well. In each laundry room, we have 5 washing machines and I think 4 drying machines and plenty of drying racks. So generally, the practice here is that students do their own laundry. Perhaps general practice is to do it once a week or twice a week, depending on your needs. You have to buy your own detergent, of course. And at the same time, we also have drying racks in our corridors as well. So generally, sometimes students, they do their laundry in the laundry room and then they bring it back in their laundry basket and they hang the clothes in their corridors. But also you can make use of the dryers as well or hang your clothes to dry them in the laundry room as well, which has plenty of racks. At the same time, once you arrive on campus, you're immediately given a laundry basket. So I remember that when I was first coming here, I brought 2 different laundry baskets because I wasn't sure if I was going to get one. But you get one here, so you don't have to worry about that. Yeah, that's more or less it.
There was a question as well about if there's a school-based shop in Dilijan where we can buy small necessities like stationery. So there is a stationery store in the academic building here on campus that has pens and books and erasers and paint and markers, everything that you need for your academics and studies as well. And when it comes to other necessities like shampoo and food and all of these other stuff that you need for sanitary purposes, you are able to order those in and they will be delivered to campus. There's a number of ways you can do that, either through Carrefour. There's a local store here called Ina and SAS. And there's this really kind man named Armin who is actually a taxi driver. This year, he has offered to be doing deliveries on behalf of the students just because we are not able to be as flexible with coming off from campus. So there's a lot of different ways that you can get all the necessities that you need for being here on campus.
I think we can also take the question about whether we have to wash our linens and bedding ourselves or how often they are changed. So fortunately, we don't have to do that. Every 2 weeks, we have something known as linen change at a designated time, where you basically take your duvet cover, your linen, your pillow covers, and you go to the storage facility with your tune parent, and you basically put it in the laundry bags, and it goes to Yerevan to get washed. For us, we are extremely grateful for that. And then you take a new set of duvet covers, towels. Towels are also included in that, pillow covers and linens. And then, of course, when you go back to your own room, you have to put everything in place and you have to make your own bed, but we don't have to wash our own bedding or linen. And it's done every 2 weeks.
There was a question about when you can use the kitchen as well. So the kitchens are always open. They're in the common rooms in the residences here on campus. So they're always available to you to use. Of course, don't be using them too late at night. You do need to maintain a healthy sleep pattern, but they're always available for you to use.
There's a question about whether the kitchens have pans, pots, or only ovens. They do have some very limited cutlery and a very few pots and pans, which may not be sufficient for what you want to cook based on what you want to cook. But like Mutuma mentioned before as well, the tune parents, their doors are always welcome for you. The tune parents being the residential parents. If you need anything for your cooking, you can go up to them, ask them. If you need a blender or a mixer or any other equipment for your cooking, their doors are always welcome for you, and you can always feel free to ask them for any help regarding any equipment that you need.
In addition to that, there's a lot of students that do have a lot of utensils that are needed for cooking. And so you can always just ask someone if you can borrow either their hot plate or one of their pots or pans, and they'd be more than willing to lend them over to you as well.
Right. There's also a question about what amount of money a student perhaps needs as pocket money every month in US dollars. Of course, that really depends based on what your spending patterns are. If you like to order a lot from outside restaurants, because for example, here we have a lot of students who like to eat out a lot, but then of course we have a lot of people who prefer the cafeteria meals and home cooked meals, and they do not order as much. So right now, for at least this year, our main expenditure was when we ordered food from outside and when we ordered necessities and essentials in general. I would say that $50 to $100 per month is perhaps a safe option. Of course, it depends on your consumption patterns, but I would say that based on my observation, most students here, they spend around $50 to $100 per month. And at the same time, I think a very good option maybe for you to bring $200 as sort of like this additional extra money that for emergency situations, you don't spend it, but you just keep it somewhere in the safe or somewhere in your room, that God forbid, if there's this emergency situation where you really need money, but something happened, you can always go back to that and spend that based on whatever the emergency situation is. At the same time, once we arrive on campus, we are given our own cards, so you can pay with your cards as well.
There was a question regarding winter clothes. So for anyone that isn't aware, the winters do get quite cold here in Dilijan. And I myself did not have winter coats because I live in Kenya. It's always sunny. But there's a lot of support that is shown through the tune parents, and the school also helps a lot with that. So there's a lot of assistance given towards ordering your own winter clothes. And for students that may not be able to afford to purchase their own clothes, there is sort of like this storage facility that has been kept aside, and previous students have been gracious enough to leave some of their winter clothes. So those are always available to students that may not be able to purchase their own. So when it comes to winter clothes, that's something we'd start worrying about in around October, beginning of November, but there's a lot of support shown to students, and you will definitely be able to get some warm clothes when the winter comes around.
Yeah. There's also a question about what is the best meal on campus, or what is everybody's favorite dish. So I would say that's a very, very subjective question, because I think we all have, if you ask all 100 students in our batch on campus, I feel like all 100 of them will give a different answer. But I can tell you that our meal options and food options are extremely diverse. We have a buffet system in the cafeteria, and for every meal we have a fantastic salad bar, we have fantastic vegetarian options. We get rice or pasta or noodles for every meal. At the same time, we get a wide variety of meat options with chicken, beef, and pork included for every meal. Almost. So it's a wide variety of options that you can choose from, and I'm sure that there's, once you come here, you'll develop your own favorite dish. At the same time, something that we started doing this term, which we as a community are really proud of, is having meatless Mondays, which is basically that every Monday, all three meals, neither of the three meals have meat in them, so everything is based on and protein. We don't have meat in our meals every Monday for sustainability concerns. And yeah, that's something that we started this term, and we hope to continue in the future as well.
The question about vegan meals as well. So quite recently, a food committee was established on campus, and one of their main goals is to ensure that there can be more options for vegan students as well. And so the food committee is busy at work with that. There are a few vegan students and staff members on campus as well, and their dietary needs are also catered to, so you shouldn't be too worried about that either. Often do. So there was a question about tracking and probably hiking as well. So as I mentioned before, there is a really good outdoor team here on campus, and they're always working to provide students with opportunities to go camping and hiking and tracking all around Armenia. And so there is a huge, very well-sourced sports sort of storage facility here on campus with skis for skiing during the winter, and sleds, and all the equipment that you'll need is available here. So don't worry too much about bringing sort of like the heavier stuff from home.
There was another question about if you're unable to bring $50 or more for a monthly expenditure, should you be worried? I would say absolutely not, because I think over here we have a very supportive and inclusive community, and there is nothing for you to be worried about, because the Toon parents are very supportive, the student community is very supportive, and will cater to all of your needs. And of course, it's not that $50 is a necessity to live here, because you can you can make a very decent living here, a fantastic living here with much, much, much less than that. So if for some reason, if you're unable to bring $50, don't worry about that at all. It's completely fine.
There was a question about bringing your own sewing machine. I would say definitely don't bring a whole machine. You do have a luggage limit when you will be traveling. The school does not have sewing machines to my knowledge, but if you maybe bring a small kit with maybe just a needle and some thread, then you will be able to sew anything that you need to be sewn. But of course, you can also reach out to your Toon parents, and there are also maybe a few sewing resources that may be available in the visual arts facilities, if I'm not wrong.
Just adding on to that, if sewing is something that you're really interested in, and if you would like to start your own sewing class, then of course you can do that as well. We already have a knitting class on campus, but if you're really particularly interested in sewing, I'm sure that many of us students here, we would love to join you in starting that class.
Just to add on, if I can. The
Definitely.
beautiful thing about UWC Dilijan is if you need something, there's always a person who has it. So don't worry about it. There's always someone with it.
There was a quick question about when you get to choose your IB subject. So a form will be sent out probably by Sophie, who is the head of academic life here on campus. That will be sent later on, maybe around July, I'm not too sure, but that will be sent out. And there is also a grace period that you have to sort of test out the subjects that you feel are working, what's not working, and you will be able to change them once classes have already begun as well. So if you feel like you would like to sort of experiment and see what's working and whatnot, you do have the freedom to do so. Once you arrive on campus, there is also going to be a formal induction to the IB, how it works, and followed by that, there will be a subject fair so that you have an understanding of each subject, what it entails, and everything regarding your academic choices. Yeah.
In regards to the lunchtime on campus, I think just not the lunchtime, maybe we can go through all the meal timings. So we have different meal timings for the weekdays and the weekends. So the weekdays, that is from Monday to Friday, breakfast is from 7, if I'm not wrong, 7 a.m. to 8:30. Lunch is from 12 to 1:30, 12 to 1:30, and dinner is from 6:30 to 8 p.m. During the weekends, breakfast starts at 8 and it ends at 10. Lunchtime is from 12 to 2, and dinner is once again at the same timing from 6:30 to 8.
The question about horseback riding as a possibility for a CAS activity. I'm not too sure, but definitely we can sort of ask Armene about that. Armene is in charge of CAS activities here on campus. There are always students that are starting their own CAS activities, so we could definitely explore the possibility of that as well.
Yeah.
Was a quick reminder from Natalie as well. We do highly encourage you to bring flags from your home countries. There is a packing list that the induction committee is working on, and it will be shared with all of you quite soon. So all the stuff that you need to live comfortably here on campus will be shared as well. But definitely do bring flags, bring national costumes and clothes from home. But that will obviously be covered throughout in the packing list that will be sent out quite soon. We're allowed to access. I'm going to access and draw stuff and want to.
Gabriel is recognized.
No, okay.
Yeah. Gabriel is
Yeah.
answering.
All right. Are there any more questions?
Good one. Oh.
Yes, so there's a question about local credit cards. So yes, towards the beginning of the academic year, Ameria Bank will come to campus and they will issue you with 2 debit cards. One will be one in US dollars for the currency, and one will be in Armenian drams. So you will have the 2 of those. In addition to that, at the beginning of the academic year, you will also be given your student ID cards, your medical insurance cards, and SIM cards for your local number here.
There is another question about, is there anything you wish you had packed that you didn't? I feel like when I came here back in August for my first term, there were quite a few things. After coming here, I realized, well, I should have packed more of, in a sense. First thing that comes to mind is socks, because it's really funny, because you think that, oh, how many socks do I actually need? But if you're thinking of bringing a certain number, double that, you'll genuinely need it, because socks are small items. It's really easy to lose socks, so just bring as much as you can. At the same time, I think when students first arrive for term 1, they tend to not bring a lot of decorations or food from home. But I think decorations to decorate your room and your working space, your corner, and also food from home so that you can cook here or just snacks. So I think it's really nice too, because it helps you cope with homesickness as well, and creates a very homely and cozy space for you, because this is a place where we'll be living for the next 2 years. So definitely keep those in mind as well.
Definitely.
Do you want to add something?
I think you've covered it all. Just bring socks. You have to bring socks, especially for the winter. They will always be wet, and then you wake up in the morning and you don't have socks. So make sure that you definitely bring socks. But of course, all of these stuff will also be in the packing list. Just a reminder for that as well. There was a question about the SATs in October and December. So yes, the school is a SAT center, so you will be able to take those here on campus. To my knowledge, they are having them done in October this year. We can ask for clarification from Harvey, who is the university counselor. But they do happen on campus, so you will be able to take the test.
But once again, if you're a DP1 student, you don't need to be worrying about the SATs right now. Just relax and just enjoy the time that you have home, and get excited for coming here, because you've got a lot of time to worry about all that.
And we do have SAT on October the 2nd, but that's not what you should be doing on your first term.
Yes.
Agreed.
Will our money be converted from USD to Armenian currency? Yes, so you could either choose to do that at the airport upon your arrival in Armenia, but we will also have a couple of bank trips at the beginning of the year to make sure that anyone who needs to get some money from either credit cards or debit cards will be able to do so, and also to transfer and convert any money that they have from dollars or euros into Armenian drams.
There was also a question about, what do I regret packing? I generally don't think I have regretted packing anything, because I think when you're living here, you just need so many more things than you actually think you need. And then there's stuff that you forget. So I don't think I actually regretted packing anything. It's just bring as much stuff as you can, but remember that there's a limitation on the weight limit, or depending on where you're from the world, the luggage limit. So keep that in mind, definitely.
Can I intercede for a sec?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I didn't really regret packing anything, but what I really did regret is I didn't pack enough food, and I'm a big foodie, and I need a lot of spices to cook all of my food and that sort of stuff. So like, you don't need a different outfit for every day. Don't worry about coming here. It's not a fashion show. Like, people don't really care that much what you're wearing. So to focus more on bringing stuff which makes you feel comfortable or stuff which are close to you rather than bringing 5 different pairs of jeans, for example.
Definitely.
Yeah.
There was a question about what exams first years have in the spring term. So yes, we do have end of year exams that happen in May for first year students, right before the second year students do their final IB exams. So these are internal exams. They're not sent to the IB in any way. They're just to make sure that you've sort of covered everything for the academic year, that you have a firm understanding of that. And they just act as a way for you to sort of practice preparations for your mocks and your finals, which will be happening in the next academic year. So it's just a good time to sort of get to practicing exam writing procedures and all that kind of stuff. In addition to that, the exams, they also help these teachers with determining your predicted grades, which is a whole different conversation, which doesn't need to be had at the moment right now, but they do also assist them in that area as well. Can we move? The lighting is so bad.
Lighting is really, just give us a second, we'll move.
So a couple of things that I can add while Sarin and Mutuma find better lighting. If you have some specific medical needs, you will be in contact with a doctor. Some medications cannot be found in Armenia, so a doctor may ask you to bring enough supply to support you here. And I also replied to a question in the chat about medical insurance. You will have full medical insurance while you're here, but please be aware that dental is not covered. So if you have any dental treatment pending, might be an idea to get it done at home before you come to join us.
There's a question about whether students can pay by Visa or MasterCard. Yes, you can. And also another question about, is cash used more frequently than debit cards? I would say yes, more or less. I mean, it really depends on what you're comfortable with. I always use cash, but I know Mutuma uses card at times. So it really depends on what you're more comfortable with.
Definitely does. And I think it also depends on where you're ordering from. So with a lot of the restaurants that you would want to order from, they will allow you to use cash. But for example, if you're ordering with Armin, who I mentioned before is a taxi driver that does some of the orders for students on campus, he doesn't have the card machine thing. So you would have to pay with cash there. So just ensure that you sort of have a balance of both if you can. But yeah, either one works in most cases. The question on why you need an Armenian credit card. You could also use your one from home. Like, I don't necessarily use my Armenian card. I always use the one that I brought from home. It's just to make sure that everyone does have a card when they get onto campus, so that there's equal opportunities for people to access money. So yeah, you don't necessarily have to use it, but it is there if you would like to use it. Yeah.
Do you want to take this one?
Can you please clarify? Yes, definitely. So with the cards at the beginning of the year, just to clarify the point as well, at the beginning of the year, Ameria Bank, which is a local bank here in Armenia, will come onto campus and they will give each student, each first year student, because second years already have them, they will give each first year student a credit card. One will be in Armenian drams as a currency and one will be in US dollars. You will be able to use any of these cards. You'll be given the password and you have access to ATMs to ensure that you can withdraw money if that is the card that you would prefer to use. But of course, you can use your card from home if you do have one available. Yes.
There was also a question about whether SAT prep materials are available on campus. We do have some SAT books and preparation materials available in our fantastic library, which is spread across 2 floors. It's incredible. It has a wide collection of books, and it also has some SAT preparation materials. But at the same time, if you're really into it, and if you really have your own materials or books that you prefer and that you're more comfortable with in terms of working and preparing for SAT, I would recommend you to bring that, because I've seen people who do bring their own books as well.
Yeah. Clarification, it is a debit card, to my knowledge. It should be a
is
debit card. It is a debit card. How do you assimilate the lack of privacy at UWCD? I would say that you definitely do have your space on campus. There's a lot of spaces outside around campus. There's a lot of private places you can go and sit and have your own alone time. In addition to that, the layout of the room is structured in a way that you are able to sort of have your own individual spaces. I'm not too sure how familiar everyone is with the layout of the rooms, but there are 4-person rooms and there are 2-person rooms as well. Each of them are structured and set up in a way that you do have your own space, you have your own places for your own privacy. So that is not something that you need to be too worried about. We are always taking in suggestions to ensure that students can be as comfortable as possible. So if you do have any follow-ups on that, feel free to approach either one of us and we can bring it up with the student council and the college leadership team as well. But a lot of students are generally satisfied with the amount of privacy that they have here.
Yeah, and I think apart from your own rooms, which do provide sufficient or a lot of privacy, there are, like Mutuma mentioned, there are a lot of places on campus. Like we have balconies attached to most of the common rooms. Then even in the library, if you want to study privately or in a private space, we have separate study rooms in the library. We have study rooms in some of the common rooms as well. So privacy is something that most students are actually genuinely satisfied with.
And also, just in addition to that, there's a lot of spaces outside, like there's benches near Achstev River, which flows right through campus. There's a lot of these outside places that people can use for privacy as well. How challenge? Let me take this one and then you can take that one. Okay, there was a question about getting an Armenian visa. It is quite challenging depending on where you're coming from. So as a student coming from Kenya or just continental Africa, it was quite difficult because the only Armenian embassy on the African continent is in Egypt. And so there are certain scenarios where you will have to send your passport to different locations where there are Armenian embassies, but the school is very supportive throughout that whole process. And for a lot of students that have second years on campus or people that they know, then there's a lot of help assisted through that. So for anyone that will have to send their passport to a different country, do feel free to reach out to me because I am quite familiar with the process. I did have to do it myself. So any questions with that, I am more than happy to answer. But yes, there's a lot of support shown by the school in the admissions department of the school as well.
Just adding on to Mutuma, I faced the exact same problems because coming from Bangladesh, I had to send my passport to a different country as well. So you can reach out to me as well. And I know that the process can be pretty tedious, but it gets done eventually. So don't worry about it. Eventually everything will be fine.
But just to answer the question a bit more specifically, you can use DHL. That is the service most students use, DHL Express to be more specific, because it does take a shorter amount of time to go and come back. You can email the embassy in advance. Like what is advisable is to email them, say, hello, I'm this student going to UWC Dilijan and I need this visa for my passport. And then you send it. When it's there, send them an email saying that it's been sent, send them an email asking for clarification, send them an email to ask when it's coming back, and then send them an email to say that it's gotten back. So just constant speaking to them and using DHL. We would say that also do this process relatively early, so around June, just to make sure you're giving yourself enough time, because you don't want to be in a position where you've booked a ticket and you're about to leave, but your passport hasn't been sent back. So depending on where you are, of course, it could take a different amount of time. For me, it took around 2 to 3 weeks. That varies, of course, depending on where you're sending it to. But yeah, make sure you give yourself enough time for that as well.
I think for me, at least, figuring out what to do took more time than actually doing it. And once the passport is sent out to the country, the process is actually, like Mutuma mentioned, it took around 2 weeks for me as well. But actually being able to figure out what to do, where to send the passport, the logistical details, that takes quite a bit of time. So make sure that you have enough time in hand before. There was another question about whether parents are supposed to send in the money into our debit account. Yes, that is correct.
There's a question about the visas, whether they last for both years. So no, the visa will most likely last for around 3 months or 180 days, if I'm not wrong. But once you are here on campus, the school will work with the Armenian government to get you a residence permit. And so you will be a resident of Armenia and you will not have to be sending your passport every time you go back home or every time it needs to be renewed. So in October, you'll get your residence permit and that will last for 1 year. So in your second year, your residence permit will be renewed. So you don't need to worry about getting a visa every single time.
Yeah. There was also a question about whether there are any money transfer places on campus. We don't, but what we do have is every week we have at least one bank trip where a group of students are taken to the local bank, Ameria Bank, if I'm not wrong. There's an ATM there, and there's also a money exchange place. So you can exchange your dollars, you can withdraw cash using your card. That happens every week, so that's not a problem.
There was a question about how much leisure time we have on campus during the week and during the weekends. We do generally have quite a bit of time. So during the week, you have free time from 4:10 if you have a full day of classes. So from 4:10 onwards, you will have free time that can be used to sleep, to work, to go for CAS activities. And over the weekends, you have the whole weekend to do whatever you want. Of course, use your time wisely because you do have work, you do have socializing, you need to sleep enough. So just be making sure you're doing all of that, trying to live a balanced life. But you do generally have quite a bit of leisure time during the week. Classes run from 8:30 to 4:10 latest, but even within that timetable, you won't necessarily have every single period. So for example, on Thursdays, I only have 2 classes. So from 9:50 until 2:50, I'm free. So I use that time to catch up on work, to watch Netflix. Like you have a lot of time to, manage your time and see what you want to do at that point in time.
Yeah, just adding on to what Mutuma said, I think it really depends on how much you're trying to do. Because, for example, if a lot of people they decide to take up a lot of engage in a lot of CAS activities or to start their own classes, and if you're trying to do a lot at the same time, then of course you'll have less leisure time.
Yeah.
But I think at the same time in a UWC, there is so much going on at the same time because apart from academic pressure, which is an important component of our essential component of our lives here, there's also a lot going on in terms of the different CASs or the different student-led initiatives that are organized in terms of the focus weeks that we have or regional evenings, which are some things that we'll get into later. But it's just that it's sometimes really difficult to find a balance. But at the same time, life here is extremely enjoyable because even though you're working, I would say that most people, they enjoy the work or most of the time they do enjoy the stress or the workload.
Yeah. The question about how you get to Dilijan from Nigeria. So for a lot of students coming from continental Africa, they do prefer to go through the Middle East. So either using Qatar, Air Arabia, or Emirates. Of course, that is dependent on your family, what they feel comfortable, what they're able to pay for as well. So that is definitely family dependent and case specific as well. But from Nigeria, at least the Nigerian students do usually go through Qatar or Dubai, so Emirates as well. Yeah.
There's a question about when we need to submit our extended essays.
Mutuma,
Sorry.
Yeah.
can I talk about flights from Europe?
Of course, yeah.
Okay. For all of the people planning to fly in from Europe, I think that the majority comes in from either Bolivia or France, which are the two most reliable and the two most constant, and the flights actually happen. However, there has been some issues with Bolivia after the hijacking of the Ryanair plane. So far, it looks like Air France seems to be the best option, and it usually flies on Saturdays from Charles de Gaulle in Paris. And so, yeah, it's a very reliable option for all of the people flying in from Europe.
Now I feel obligated to talk about Asia, coming from the Indian subcontinent or East Asia, Southeast Asia, etc. So similar to coming traveling from Africa, there are 3 main options that students avail, either Air Arabia, Qatar, or Emirates. Once again, it depends on what your family is comfortable with. If you're traveling by Emirates, then Emirates does not come from Dubai to Armenia. The flight is operated by Fly Dubai, so you would be traveling, or probably traveling by Emirates from your home country to Dubai, and then you'd have to take Fly Dubai to Armenia. Then there's also Qatar and Air Arabia.
Yeah.
If you have any other questions about booking flights, and you can always contact one of us.
Just to clarify as well, there's no direct flights to Dilijan. You will have to land in Yerevan, which is the capital of Armenia, and from there will be school transport to drive you to Dilijan. So
it's a roughly 2-hour drive to Dilijan.
So when you're booking flights, type in Yerevan, not Dilijan, because you will not find any flights to Dilijan. Yeah.
There's a question about when we have to submit our extended essays. Once again, firstly, you don't need to worry about that at all right now.
We don't even have to worry about that,
we don't have to worry about it. That's sort of our summer task. But I would say that our school's deadline is around October, November. It's around October, November that you have to submit your final draft of the extended essay by October, November
of your second year.
Of your second year. Yes. Don't worry about it now. Yeah. So for us, for example, we have to submit it around October, November of 2021. For you, it's going to be 2022. And it's really strongly advisable for you to finish your work over the summer break that you have after finishing your first year. So for us, we have to do the majority of the work over the summer. But once again, don't worry about that right now. It's good to have the information, but you shouldn't be thinking of that.
There was an inquiry on the proficient language to take self-taught literature course, being an intermediate. So all questions regarding academics would most probably be best answered either by Gabriel or Sophie. I'm not too sure if Sophie is here. There is a self-taught option for a language course here on campus. So if one of the languages you'd like to take are not being offered, you can do it as a self-taught. Of course, you do need to have a bit of background in history in the language in order for you to take it as self-taught. But we will definitely bring this question up again, and we'll find a way to communicate that back as well, just so we're ensuring to give the best information. I think Elena would like to answer that as well.
Regarding the self-taught languages, even if your language is completely obscure and you don't feel like, for example, there has never been anybody doing self-taught in Maltese, but I asked about the option of me doing that, and you can do it in any language you want as long as there is sufficient literature in that language. So yeah, that's just some info.
Definitely.
There is a question about whether students can leave campus on weekdays. So unfortunately, that's a concept that we're not familiar with at all, because our campus, because we arrived here in the middle of the pandemic when the pandemic was raging. And since then, our campus has been on lockdown. We were only allowed to go out to supervise trips to either some restaurants or to outdoor activities, hiking, or to take a walk in the parks or stuff like that. So unfortunately, till now, because our campus is on lockdown, students are not being allowed to go out either on weekdays or weekends. But based on what we've heard from the alum or our second years, yeah, you can, if the campus is on lockdown and once the situation returns to normal, we will hopefully be allowed to go out of campus on both weekdays and weekends. Gabrielle, I think, has a point related to that, probably. Yeah.
Just to share with you, that's why we started the vaccination program as soon as Armenia allowed the staff and the students to be vaccinated. The sooner we have most of our community protected, the sooner we can change our measures. Obviously, the safety and the well-being of every member of the community is the first consideration. Once we can assure that, we can move to a far more open approach.
Definitely.
Thank you.
But I think that shouldn't discourage anyone from coming. There is a lot of stuff that still goes on campus, a lot of activities, a lot of fun stuff that's going on. So just because we are not able to go out as much as historically students here have been able to, there is still so much that you will be able to do here on campus, both student-led and academic and everything. There'll be a lot to do.
The contract.
Gabriel, would you maybe like to take the question on the contract? About content and owning content. Yeah.
Yes, it's good that you're reading the fine print. It's a good thing to do before you sign a contract. Any materials that you produce that are connected, that are relevant to the learning program, is shared authorship, including because some of them will be materials that are for assessment for the IB. I'm a passionate aviation geek. If I were to discover the engine airplane of the future, on my free time, it's not connected to the school, that's totally disconnected with UWC, the school will not and cannot claim intellectual property for that.
Thank you, Gabriel.
Would you also like to take the next question about having a document stating that you're a UWCD student?
Yes, we will provide you whatever documents are needed to facilitate your application, your move here. If you need to transfer any files from the government, from the school, our admissions department will do that for you. I'm going to be spending a lot of time signing letters over the next month. I can tell you that.
There is a question about sailing as a CAS activity. As I know of it now, there is no sailing as a CAS activity because we do have the Aksa River that is flowing just through the campus actually, but the other rivers are actually not quite, but a bit far away from campus. So right now we don't have that as a CAS activity. But of course, if you're really interested in sailing and if this is something that you would really love to do, you can arrive on campus and you can talk to our CAS coordinator Armenia as well as our outdoor and sports instructors, and maybe you can do something about it. I know that there are opportunities to go sailing in and around Armenia because I know that a group of students have done that already. But yeah, this is something that you can take initiative and start.
Definitely. There are still opportunities, like Zareen said, to cave and to sail and to go kayaking and all this type of stuff. That is facilitated by the outdoor team. There's a question about interactions with the local community despite COVID. So there are interactions, but they're not necessarily direct. So there are a lot of groups on campus, such as Red Cross and the group that was working closely with the refugees from Artsakh. And so there are these initiatives that have been started by students on campus to raise money and to get donations. And those eventually do reach the relevant parties that are being worked on, or that are being worked with rather. And so there are sort of these indirect interactions that you can have with members of the community.
There is a question about Project Week and what Project Week is. So Project Week is a 2-week break as we had it in our academic year. I don't know if there are any changes in the academic calendar plan for next year, but as we had it, it was a 2-week break in our first term in October, which gave us an opportunity to interact with the local community, go out to Dilijan and Armenia with, of course, sufficient safety precautionary measures so that we could immerse in the local culture, interact with the local community, go to the places and genuinely see the place that we call home now. It was composed of a lot of different activities, and there were a lot of other opportunities for students to engage in different things. For example, I took during that project week, I took a short course on something known as slavery studies. There were other students who were cooking for the refugee families in Artsakh, etc. Do you want to add something
Yeah,
else?
Project Week is definitely, like Zireen said, it's a great time to get to know Armenia, to get to know the campus, and to immerse yourself in a lot of different activities. This year, most of them were on campus, a few of them were off campus as well. We definitely say take time to attend as many of these activities as you can, because if things are going to be the same as this year, these are one of the few times that you get to really immerse yourself into Armenian culture, to see the places, to visit the people and all that type of stuff. So definitely Project Week is a great time to travel, to experience, and to do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, something that I want to add on is that because of these activities that you're doing with other fellow students, and because this is a project week occurs quite early on, just 2 months into your UWC experience, it is also a fantastic opportunity for bonding with your second years or within your generation. So like Mutuma said, please try to attend as many of these events as you can, because that is one of the core components of being a UWC student.
Definitely. Something that may be relevant to the point on project weeks is something that we have called long weekends as well. So sometimes in the academic calendar, we will have a long weekend, which just means that school will end on Wednesday, and then we'll have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday as the weekend, or we will end on Friday and then Wednesday and then Monday and Tuesday will be days off school. And so during long weekends as well, it's a time to rest, to catch up on any academic work that you may be lagging behind on, to spend time with friends. And there are also supervised trips off campus that happen during long weekends as well. So it's just another great time, sort of like a small mini version of Project Week. Yeah. There's a question about sort of scholarships. Gabriel would be able to answer it. But just to mention briefly on that, everyone here is treated equally, regardless of their socioeconomic status, where they're coming from, their nationality, their sexuality. Everything is not a point that sort of affects how we treat each other here on campus. Mutual respect is something that is huge here in UWC Dilijan, between staff and students as well. And so that is definitely something that you shouldn't worry about. Maybe Gabriel can add on to that as well.
Honestly, because I've been here a year, and the amount of scholarship that you have, or whether you're in a full scholarship, whether you have no scholarship at all, that is not a topic of discussion at all. I've never had a discussion with a fellow student about how much scholarship they are on. So this is not something that you have to worry about at all. It's a very supportive and very inclusive community, and where people are not judged at all, and they're evaluated or based on who they are and not based on their sexuality, nationality, identity, etc.
If I can just support what Mutuma and Sarin were saying, most of the activities, most of the things that go on campus, there's no charge. They include in the school fees. So it is only if you want something special that's not included, that then it will depend if you can afford to or not. And even in such cases, for students on full scholarship, we have a student fund that students can apply for financial support for some things if needed.
There was a question about whether international trips were possible before the pandemic. During long weekend, I'm not too sure of. Maybe Gabriel would be able to answer that. But there were a few international trips that were planned for certain groups. For example, the MUN team here on campus were able to travel to the Netherlands for an MUN conference there. There have been times when students from other UWCs have been able to come to Dilijan and vice versa. And so there are these opportunities that were there before. Maybe Gabriel could touch on that as well.
The beauty of Armenia, that there's so much to do here in terms of culture, outdoors, and activities. So a lot can be done here. As Mutuma was saying, in the past we had participation in Olympiads, robotics competitions, MUN. I think Davo can talk about that. So there are opportunities to do that. As of now, it's obviously very constrained. So what we'll do is we'll create as many as we can here in country to make sure that everyone can do activities.
Yeah.
It was
So
also, yeah,
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
So yeah, as you guys already mentioned, with the MUN team, they went to the Netherlands in the last year that I was there. But also we have our own MUN Dilimun. So we have people coming from different parts of the world. Exactly. We have students coming from all over Armenia and the world to Dilijan. Hopefully it will be possible in the years that you're there. But yeah, so you get to interact with people from elsewhere as well.
Yeah. There was a question about if you do poorly on the math placement test, which you're supposed to take once you arrive here, will that prevent you from choosing any advanced mathematics? I think, of course, Gabriel is in a better position to answer that. But based on my experience, of course, if you perform extremely My apologies for that. Of course, the thing is that based on my experience, the school will not enforce or force you to take any particular mathematics. Based on your math placement score, the school will provide you with recommendations regarding any math that you should be taking, perhaps a higher level math or a standard level math, but the school does not force you to, does not enforce its decisions on you. So the decision is completely up to you. The school will provide you with recommendations regarding your, based on your math placement test scores.
Definitely. There was a question about whether or not you should bring your own hot plate. You definitely can borrow it from people here on campus. There are also instances when our second years leave some of these stuff in the common rooms, but you don't necessarily have to bring your own. If you do want to, you are welcome to, but you could definitely borrow from someone. Yeah. There was a question
Can
about
I-
the sports. Oh, sorry, yes, Gabriel, go ahead.
Sorry, can I go back to the math question? What the math department is preparing, there'll be a number of weeks where students will be allowed to compare different classes before they get finally allocated to a course. Because you could do poorly on the math placement test because of several reasons. What doesn't make any sense is if your math background is weak, I'm going to keep on doing high level math because actually you're making your life difficult. You're shooting yourself for failure. So we will advise you so that your academic package is a reasonable challenge, which is what the IB expects you to do. The IB doesn't expect you to engage in something that's very easy and you can achieve sevens straight away because you're not learning anything. So we have to achieve that balance between the challenge, but at the same time making sure that you have a reason and a possibility to succeed, that you're not setting yourself up for failure.
Definitely.
Gabriel, would you also like to take the next question about sexual activity on campus?
Yep. So obviously somebody has been reading the UWC Code of Conduct. Thank you. What the UWC Code of Conduct means by no sexual activity on campus, we're talking about intercourse and sexualized behaviors. You can start defining kissing and types of kissing and cuddling and so on. Let me share with you one rule that cuts across cultures. It's the grandmother rule. If you're doing something that will get your grandmother to go to the kitchen, get something and hit you, that means that across cultures, you're doing something that's making people uncomfortable. And that's a very easy way to make sure that what you're doing is not making other people uncomfortable. It's about respect. As Mutuma and Sarim were talking earlier, we have a big diversity of cultures, and we also need to understand that what is acceptable in terms of what we wear, what nudity is, sexualized behavior. That depends. So there has to be a lot of cultural negotiation and understanding to make sure that we're not offending people in our community.
There's a question on what sports teams are like on campus. So there are no sort of fixed sports teams that we have here, but there are a different number of casts that actively work in sports. So there's football casts, there's volleyball, there's swimming casts, basketball. There's a lot of stuff. We also have how to explain? So there's also this activity type thing that we have on campus called League of Tunes. And so it's basically competitions between the different tunes here on campus. And a lot of the time that will include sports related activities. And so that is an active place where you will be able to practice sports. So there's not necessarily tournaments between different schools, to my knowledge, at least that hasn't happened this year, but definitely we are open towards starting those. You could definitely come and change the way the system works. I know I am pushing towards forming a swimming team here on campus because I did competitive swimming in my previous school. So there's always stuff that can be changed as well. The question about vitamins. A lot of people do bring their own vitamins onto campus. Just a point on safeguarding, the school requests you to keep all vitamins and medication with the medical center, just so that Dr. Nara, who's the lead doctor on campus, is aware of everything that you have and makes sure that it's safe for consumption. So you can bring your own vitamins, just make sure that you inform your tune parent that they are in the medical center and that Dr. Nara is aware of that as well.
Mutuma, can I expand on the reason why all medication has to be in the medical center?
Definitely.
We have students with very different medical requirements. And imagine you pass out in your room and we don't know if it's because you haven't taken your medication or because you've taken too much. That's why medication has to be sitting in the clinic where we can monitor levels. We can make sure that if you forgot to do it, we can call you. That's the reason why we have to make sure that it can be done in a centralized way in a clinic. We have 24/7 nurses and we can support you at any time of day or night.
Just another point on the medical center as well. If you are feeling unwell, please make sure that you do go to the medical center, just to make sure that if it is a contagious disease like a flu or something, you're able to protect yourself, but also the community as well. Since there are a lot of shared facilities, you want to make sure that a lot of these stuff don't spread and that as few people as possible can get sick. So if you are feeling unwell, go to the medical center. The staff and the nurses are very kind and very helpful. So yeah, definitely don't be afraid to go to the med center.
There is also a question about whether students are able to take part in local or national Olympiads. It's not only about that you can take part, you're actually encouraged to take part. And of course, if you want to, if that's the kind of work you're interested in, you'll get all the necessary support from the school as well, in terms of the application process. Or I know that there are subject teachers specific to, for example, if you are interested in the biology Olympiad or the chemistry or the physics Olympiad, you can take help from the relevant subject teachers as well. So of course you can do that.
Yeah. Just for a few examples of that, there was one of our second year students from Norway and Nigeria that was selected to take part in one of the international, I think, mathematics or science Olympiads in Japan or China. I'm not too sure. I can't remember the specifics. And there's also a team representing Armenia in another international Olympiad on robotics. So there are a lot of stuff that people are doing as well. So it's highly encouraged to take part.
There was a question about if students are feeling intense menstrual pains, if they can stay in bed on days they are feeling especially bad. So the protocol that we have on campus is that if you're having any health-related issues or any health-related difficulties, you have to go to the medical center and you have to report to the medical center immediately. And based on the severity of the issue, based on how you're feeling, you'll be offered a bed in the medical center and you'll have to stay there until you feel better. But at the same time, another protocol that we have is known as the permitted day protocol. This is particularly for situations when you feel that if you feel that you're not doing the best emotionally and mentally, and if you really need a break from work, then you can request to take a permitted day from your tune parent. And if your tune parent approves of that, then you can spend the day, instead of going to the classes, you can either spend the day in the academic building, in the library, or in the primary school that we have on campus, or in the visual arts department, or wherever you feel comfortable, just not in the residences. And you can spend your time there just relaxing and doing something that would make you feel better. But if it's a health related concern, then you should immediately report to the medical center, and your student parents and the medical center staff will decide what is best for you.
Just a clarification on the difference between permitted days and excused absences. So permitted days are solely for purposes where students are feeling a bit under the weather. Their mental health isn't necessarily in the best place that day or that point in time. And so a permitted day will be issued if it's related to mental health and just general well-being of the student, whereas excused absences would be for any other thing, whether it's medical, whether it's, any other thing that doesn't necessarily have to deal with your mental health and your well-being at that point in time as well. Something just to clarify as well, there are instances when the med center is relatively full. For example, when we were switching seasons from winter rather to spring, there were a lot of people that were a bit fluish, and because of the pollen, a lot of people were feeling a bit unwell. But yeah, so in cases where that happens, you will be able to be given medical leave, and from permission from the medical center, you will be able to stay in your room for that point in time.
There's one last question. This is going to be the last question that we will be answering, and then we do have to end the webinar. This is about whether you can purchase your own vitamins in school after consulting with Dr. Nara. Our medical center has a wide range of medications and pills, and as well as vitamin tablets that are available that will be given to you if you require it. You can purchase your own medicine as well, but you need to consult Dr. Nara, definitely.
Perfect. Thank you guys for joining us and for asking all these questions. Just a reminder, if you do have any follow-ups or you'd like to get more information on anything that we've mentioned here or anything that we haven't mentioned, please reach out to anyone that you see in the panel here today. We are more than willing, and we are actually just here to answer all the questions that you have. Please make use of us. We are here to help you. That is why we are here. And so definitely do reach out to us.
Yeah, just one thing before ending. I feel like a lot of us at times feel that, oh, this is a stupid question. What will that person think of me if I ask that question? There are no such things as stupid questions. If anything, if you have concerns about anything, please feel free to welcome your concerns, your queries, and all your questions.
Definitely. So to end our town hall today, we would just like to show you a small clip, which is a message from our generation, because we're looking forward to meeting you all.
Bye, Firstlies! I'm Mia from the Netherlands.
And I'm Michelle from France.
And we're super excited to meet you guys.
And this video is a message from your future second years.
Enjoy!
Hi, Firstlies!
Welcome to UWC Division. We can't wait to welcome you here in August, and we look forward to meeting each and every one of you. We're so excited to meet you.
Bye, Firstlies!
We can't wait to meet you! And we can't wait to see you. We're so excited.
Hey, Firstlies!
See you guys soon.
Hi, Firstlies! Hi, Firstlies!
We hope you're getting really excited to come over here in the fall. And we cannot wait for you to be here with us.
Hi, Firstlies!
Once again, thank you everyone for joining in today, and to all our future firsties, we cannot wait to meet you. We're super excited to welcome you to Dilijan. Thank you.
Thank you all.